And with that, I would like to introduce our very own Keismond. He will be talking to us about adding new members and transferring existing members. Thanks, Keismond.
Thank you, Peggy. Before I get started, I'm just going to share my screen so I can get that out of the way. That's usually the toughest part of Zooms for me. Perfect. Can you see my screen?
You bet.
Thank you, Peggy. All right. Good morning, everybody. It's always good to see you. I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us this morning. This is that time of the year where we're all super busy with the collection of membership dues and monitoring paid and unpaid members and collecting 2023 LFRO and MLO certification forms and sending dues and REF payments to C.A.R. By the new deadline, which is the 15th and the last day of the month. So there's just a lot going on, right? And then you have new members that are joining and members transferring from another association to your association to be primary. And so again, there's just so many things that we are focused on today. And so really today we are going to be focused on new members and also transferring members. And then I'm just going to cover some of the upcoming deadlines. One of the things that I want to mention before we get started is I recently came across some great information that NAR created for local association staff as it relates to creating new member records in M1, as well as transferring records in M1. And so today, I don't really need to go into too much detail on how to create a new member record in M1 or how to transfer a record, because they actually created some short videos on how to do it. And so I am going to show you where to locate those videos, but I am going to cover the new member process because there is some steps that associations should be taking when it comes to managing their new members. All right, so let's talk about the new member process. So there are steps that associations should be following when it comes to managing their new members. The very first step in the process is really to just check the agent's license status on DRE's website to ensure the license status reflects license. That is super important because their license must be in a working status in order for them to be a member. Also, you want to make sure, again, that the license is in a working status, which includes license, or there will be times where you may see the status shows license restricted. Again, license restricted is a working status. Members can join and they can conduct business with a license status of license restricted. However, a non-working license status, which includes suspended, expired, revoked, or NBA, those licensees are not able to join as a realtor member. Also important to remember is while you're checking the status of your salesperson's license, you should also be checking the status of the broker's license. Because you want to make sure that the agent's broker's license is also in good standing. Because if the broker's license status is not in good standing, then that broker can't be a member as well. And the agent, as you know, in order for the agent to join and hold membership, the broker must also be an active member at the local and state level. So those are just some steps that you will go through when setting up a new member. Step number 2 in the new member process is if the license is in good standing. Once you find out that the license is in good standing, then we have to determine if the licensee has ever held membership in California or out of state. This is important because the goal is to prevent duplicating a member record. Members should only have one member record in M1. This is important here because the way you get this process started is you will have to ask the member some questions. And those questions are, have you ever been a member, in the past? A lot of times, they may say no. And the reason why they may say no is because sometimes they may have been members years ago, or they may have been a member with an association that was out of state. And so in their minds, they may be thinking, well, I've never been a member in California. And so, no, I have not been a member. And so you just want to check with, the member to ensure that they have not been a member before you move forward. All right. The next step in the process, which is step number 3, you want to check M1 to confirm that the licensee is not already in the system. The first step in this process is to search M1 by name or by license number. This is important because again, the goal here is really to make sure that we're not duplicating the member record. We want to make sure that we only have one record in the system for a member. And so you can actually do a search in M1 by either the member name, or you can do a search by the license number. Once you do a search by the license number, that will determine if this member has a record in the system. Even if the member, let's just say years ago, they was a member out of state, but they were also a member in California. If you do a search by the California license number, that member record should show up in the search if that record was already created in the system. And again, the goal is to use the NERDS record that is already in the system. Even if the record was created by an out-of-state association, we want to make sure that we use that record for California if they're joining as a primary in California. Step number 4, once you determine the licensee is a new member, then you're ready to create the NERDS ID number and the M1 record. If you use a membership management system to manage your membership data, then you'll need to reach out to your vendor for instructions on how to create a NERDS ID number and member record for your new members. And just examples of AMS systems, it just includes Rapatoni, Ramco, MMSI, Growth Zone. Those are just some of the few AMS systems that are out there. So if you use one of those systems and you're new, if you're a new AE and you've never created a new member record, you just want to make sure that you reach out to your vendor because they have specific instructions for your system when it comes to creating a NERDS ID number, as well as a member record in your AMS system. Also, if you use M1 to manage your membership data, meaning you're not using an AMS system like Rapatoni, Ramco, MMSI, you're actually using NAR's M1 system to manage your data, then you want to reach out to NAR's e-commerce support at nerdshelp@realtors.org. The reason why you want to do this is because if you're using M1 to manage your data specifically, NAR can provide you with the NERDS ID numbers for your new members. And again, I'm going to not walk you through, but I'm going to show you where you can access the training videos on how to add a member record to the M1 system. All right. So where to access the training videos for adding a new member to M1. So NAR, created these training videos for local association staff to access at any time. And so in order to access these training videos, you want to make sure that you go to nar.m1.realtor. Once you get to the main page, you're going to click where it says M1 Help. From there, you're going to scroll down and you're going to go to where it says M1 User Manual. And you're going to click the drop-down menu. Once you click the drop-down menu, you're going to click where it says Add a Member. Once you click add a member, it's actually going to give you the step-by-step instructions on how to manually add a record to the M1 system. Now, this is not the video section. This is just another section that will walk you through the step-by-step instructions. But I think the most important one is the video that they created, and I'll show you how to access the video. So on that same page, you're just going to scroll down to where it says Quick Takes, and you're going to click the drop-down menu. And then from there, you'll see an option that says Create New Member. And from here, this is where NAR, and I believe the video might be, I think it's around 6 minutes. It's a really short video, but it will walk you through the step-by-step instructions on how to manually add a new member to the M1 system. All right, so let's talk about how to transfer a member. So another great thing about what NAR created here with their quick takes is they also created a training video on how to transfer a member. Again, a lot of members, at the beginning of the year, they're transferring from one association to the other. And so it's definitely important to know the different steps that you'll need to go through when transferring a member. One of the things that you want to keep in mind when transferring a member from out of state is you want to make sure that the primary state association reflects California, because I've seen sometimes where an association is transferring a member from out of state, but they forget to update the primary state association to reflect California, and it still reflects the out of state primary association. And so what will happen is it'll appear as if the member was transferred correctly. It'll show under your local association, but the primary state association will still reflect the old out-of-state association and not California. So that's just something that you'll need to remember. And again, once you click on the video, it will walk you through those steps and give you those reminders that is really important. Do we have any questions so far? No? All right. All right, so before I move on, again, do we have any questions about adding new members or transferring members? I know once you take a look at the videos, it's, everything will become clear on how to add a new member to M1, and also how to transfer members from one association to another. And then if you have any questions after you watch the video, you can always reach out to me and I will be more than happy to assist you. All right, so let's talk about the upcoming deadlines. So as you know, the February 28 dues delinquency deadline is fast approaching. It is actually next week, Tuesday, I believe. So let's talk about, what do the bylaws say about the dues delinquency deadline? Well, it says dues for all members is payable annually in advance of the first day of January. Section 4 says non-paying members can be inactivated for non-payment within 1 month of the due date, and then terminated within 2 months of the due date. And so that would be February 28th. But let's go back and let's just look at Section 4 again, because it says non-paying members can be inactivated for non-payment within 1 month of the due date, which would be January 31st. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because associations can actually inactivate members before February 28th, which means you actually have the option to inactivate on January 31st. You also have the option to inactivate unpaid members on January 15th. It's really up to the local association. We just have a due date in place, which is February 28th. And so it's just important to make sure that you have a deadline in place for your members. So let's talk about the February 28 dues delinquency process. So it's really just a simple two-step process. So step one is inactivating unpaid members on or before February 28th. Step two is just submitting C.A.R. dues payment for all active renewing members through NAR's e-commerce system on or before February 28th. So it's really just a two-step process. Also, on March 1st, the C.A.R. late fee goes into effect. And keep in mind, the C.A.R. late fee is $50. It's really going to be important for associations, in my opinion, to start inactivating, if you haven't already, inactivating your unpaid members now. The reason why I say that is because if you think about it, a lot of our members are really struggling out there. And so I know inactivating them now maybe sounds like a negative, but it really is a positive, because most of the time when you inactivate a member, what they will do is they will pick up the phone and they will give you a call. And most of the time they will be willing to pay their dues. But if you wait until February 28th and you have a member that's struggling, guess what? On March 1st, not only are they going to have to pay the full year dues, but they're now going to have to pay a $50 late fee. And that's one of the things that we really don't want them to have to do. And so if you haven't already started inactivating your unpaid members, you may want to start thinking about that now, because one of the things that C.A.R. will not do is waive the $50 late fee. So it's really going to be important to get that done as soon as possible and not wait until the 28th. So again, just to cover this one more time. So the February 28th dues delinquency deadline, which is next Tuesday, it's just a two-step process. And the goal is just to make sure you inactivate unpaid members on or before February 28th. The next step in the process is making sure that you submit all dues payments for all active renewing members to C.A.R. through NAR's e-commerce system. So that's the February 28th dues delinquency deadline, and that's the process. So let's talk about what happens when you inactivate or terminate unpaid members. This is important because when you inactivate or terminate an unpaid member, they automatically become NMSPs on the BCT. The reason why this is important is because once you inactivate the member, you will have 30 days to work with the brokers to get these issues resolved. And just as a reminder, we have 3 NMSP compliance deadlines this year, and it hasn't changed over the years. And so it's March 31st, August 31st, and also December 1st. So the March 31st compliance score deadline, so 97% is the compliance objective. So it's 97% or higher. The focus right now should be on your delinquent NMSPs and NMSPs that will be delinquent within the next 45 days or less. The brokers have the following options for their NMSPs. So the broker has the option to pay the non-member fee, which includes C.A.R. $225 and NAR $150. The broker also has the option to certify the agent as a LFRO by signing the LFRO certification form, or the agent has the option to join as a realtor member. Or last, the broker can drop the agent's license, which puts the agent's license in licensed MBA. And again, that's a non-working license status. All right, so let's talk about, sorry about that. Let's talk about what prevents an association from meeting the NMSP compliance objective of 97%. So delinquent records is what prevents associations from meeting and maintaining compliance. You want to just make sure that you're focused on agents that are delinquent. And most importantly, you really want to make sure that you're managing those agents that are in your grace period. Really, the goal is to make sure that they never make it to the delinquent section, But if they do, you just want to make sure that you get those records cleaned up as quickly as possible. Now, in order to see a list of your delinquents, you can either click on where it says delinquent, where it has the count, where it says number 1. And number 2, you can click on the delinquent section, and it will provide you with a list of your delinquent agents. And from here, this will give you a list of all of your delinquent agents. And so really the goal now is just to get a communication out to the broker regarding these delinquent agents. And as I mentioned earlier, the broker has options when it comes to those delinquent agents. And so you just want to make sure that the broker is aware of his options, that he or she has options. And so again, those options is the broker can pay the NMSP fee, the broker can remove the agent's license, the agent has the option to join as a realtor member, or the broker can certify the agent as a LFRO. So those are the options that is available to the broker and his agents. So also important to remember is the broker must receive a notification regarding their NMSPs. And so we just went over how to access the list of his or her NMSPs. And so you just want to make sure that you send a communication out to the broker regarding their NMSPs. What we normally, like to see is the broker should receive at least multiple communications regarding this deadline. And one of the things that you want to do is you just want to make sure in your communication that you include a deadline for the broker to respond. That's important because a lot of times the brokers will say, well, I received the notification, or I didn't receive the notification, but I didn't see, the deadline. You just want to make sure that you're getting multiple communications out to the broker. And you also want to make sure that you include a deadline, because if the deadline passes, you just want to make sure that you inactivate the member once you get past that deadline. And really the goal is just to make sure that you're compliant on March 31st, because if you're not compliant on March 31st, then associations can be called into a hearing. And I will say those hearings are not fun. And so that's really the reason why when I see associations that are not compliant, as we get closer and closer to the deadline, I'm actually reaching out to the association and making sure that we're getting those records cleaned up, because I don't want to see anyone go through a hearing. And I don't want to discuss all the details, but I can just tell you it's not fun, because your AE and the AE's board president is called in. And so the goal is really to just make sure by March 31st, you have an NMSP score of 97% or higher. And again, I don't mean to continue to go over this again, but just remember the broker has options, and those options should be either the broker is going to pay the NMSP fee, or the broker is going to remove the agent's license and make it MBA, or the agent is going to join as a realtor, or last, the broker can certify the agent as a LFRO. Any questions?
Keismond, there's a couple of one-offs in the chat, but I'm asking them to get with you individually, because otherwise we're going to end up being here all morning.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. So also part of the March 31st compliance deadline, you want to make sure that you collect a signed 2023 LFRO and MLO certification form for all active LFROs and MLOs and M1. And you just want to make sure you do this by the March 31st compliance deadline. Also, those certification forms are not for C.A.R. Those are for your records. If we need to, collect any LFRO or certification forms from the local association, because we're doing an audit, then you want to make sure that you have those forms on file and available for C.A.R. All right. You want me to keep going, Peggy?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the 2023 financial process and requirements. So what is C.A.R. expecting to receive from the local associations this year? So obviously, we're expecting to receive dues money. So dues money must be submitted through NAR's e-commerce system. Also, financial records, they must be uploaded to M1 with the correct payment type, code, billing year, and payment amount. And I will say, so far this year, we have seen where some associations have uploaded the incorrect payment type code. And so when that happens, our system will not process those financial records successfully on our end. And so our finance team is reaching out to the local associations to help resolve those issues. And so again, our system is actually looking for a specific payment type code. And I'll just go over it really quick. So our system is looking for STAT, STATE, CDU, C.A.R. dues, C.A.R., 23 CDU, and 23 C.A.R. So our system is programmed to look for those specific payment type codes. If you upload anything outside of that, our system is going to reject it. Also, C.A.R. created a new policy for 2023. So local associations are now required to send financial records and dues money to C.A.R. by the 15th of each month and also by the last day of each month. If the last day falls on a weekend, then you must submit that information to C.A.R. on that Friday. All right, so the financial process also requires local associations to send 3 separate EFT payments, one for membership dues, one for RAF contributions, and one for HAF contributions. C.A.R. cannot process membership dues that's combined together. They should always be separate. There are times where we've seen associations submit dues and RAF contributions together. When that happens, our finance team will just reach out to the local association to resolve those issues. But you just want to make sure that when you're submitting dues payments and RAF and HAF payments, that you are sending 3 separate EFT payments through NAR's e-commerce system. All right, so let's talk about how to submit dues payment through NAR's e-commerce system. So if you're submitting dues, you just want to make sure you select the option Create New Transfer when you're submitting payments to C.A.R. and NAR. C.A.R. payments include C.A.R. dues money, late fees, and also new member fees. NAR payments include, of course, NAR dues money. All right, so when you're submitting this information through the e-commerce system, you want to make sure under Receive an Association ID, especially when you're sending it for C.A.R., you want to make sure that the association ID is 808. For the Receive an Association, it should reflect California because we are the association that's receiving the dues money. The bank account should reflect your association's name because that's where the money is coming from. Also, the transfer amount should reflect the dues dollars that you are transferring to C.A.R.'s account. Once you have all of that information updated in these fields, then you just want to click Create Transfer. All right, so let's talk about sending RAF and HAF payments through the e-commerce system. So you're going to select this option, Pack EFT Transfer, when sending RAF and HAF contributions to C.A.R. Please note that RAF and HAF payments, again, should not be combined. There should be a separate payment for RAF and a separate payment for HAF. And you're pretty much going to go through the same process as you did when you submitted the dues. So the receiving association is going to be 808. The receiving association should reflect California because we are the receiver of the payment. The bank account options, when you're submitting REF payments, you're going to see a different option. So when you click the receiving bank, you're going to have multiple options now. So the bank account options that are available when sending REF and HAF payments is you're going to see bank account number 2, which is going to be for your REF payment, and you're also going to see bank account number 3, and that's for your HAF payments. And so that's why it's important to make sure that you're submitting a separate payment for REF and HAF. So once that information is filled out, you're going to make sure that you include the transfer amount. That's the amount that you're submitting to C.A.R. And once that's done, you're just going to click Create Transfer. All right, so let's go over the process of submitting NAR dues payment to NAR. So this is going through the same process that you would go through when you're submitting dues payment to C.A.R., which we went over earlier. So you're just going to click Create New Transfer. And this time, under the Receiving Association, you're just going to enter in the number 1. That's NAR's receiving ID number. And then for the Receiving Association, it should automatically show National Association of Realtors. And then for the bank account portion should reflect your association name. The transfer amount should reflect the dues dollars that you are transferring to NAR. And then under NAR dues, you want to select yes. Once you select yes, this pop-up box will appear so that you can enter the count of members you are submitting the payment for. This option is only available when you're submitting dues to NAR. It's not available when you're submitting dues payment to C.A.R. I'm hoping that they're going to upgrade their system so that C.A.R. also has this option available when associations are submitting dues to C.A.R. So once all of that is done, then you're just going to click Create Transfer. All right, so let's talk about the e-commerce bulk payment. So what are bulk payments? Bulk payments are payments received through e-commerce with no names attached. So that pretty much means that the way some associations collect dues payment, it just means that members aren't going into the system and actually making a payment, and the payments are being split 3 ways. There are some members that mail in their payments. And so in those cases, the associations are really just making deposits into their association bank account. And then at some point, they're submitting that information to C.A.R. through the e-commerce system. And so those are considered bulk payments. And so in those cases, our finance team is actually reaching out to the associations for those associations that are submitting bulk payments, because I will say in order for them to reconcile the money with the names, they do need a little assistance, because we're trying to figure out, for example, if you look at the screen under Arcadia, we received a bulk payment for $12,000. Arcadia most likely uploaded the financial records to M1, but we still need to be able to tie the money directly to those members. And so in those cases, you'll just receive a communication from our finance team when they're trying to reconcile the data. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. All right. So let's talk about what happens if an association does not upload a member's financial record to M1 before a member transfers to another association. Well, the previous association will have to transfer the record back to their association and add the financial record to M1. C.A.R.'s finance department will need to process the financial record before the record can be transferred back to the new association. The BCT will continue to show the member unpaid until all of these steps are completed. And so what needs to happen? Well, when the association collects membership dues from a member, the financial record must be uploaded to M1 as soon as possible. I know I said within 15 days, but it really should be as soon as possible, because a lot of times if you collect a payment from a member for 2023, and then they decide to transfer to another association to make that association primary, and the financial record is not in the system, then we will have to follow these steps right here in order for the BCT to reflect paid for that member. Any questions?
None so far.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, so let's talk about how to confirm if your financial record uploaded to M1 successfully. So the first step in the process is really just to locate the member on M1. Once you click on the member's NERDS ID number, then you want to scroll down to where it says member dues payment. From here, you just want to make sure the payment type code, the billing year, and payment amount is correct. And as you can see on the screen, the payment type is STAT. That is one of the payment type codes that our system will accept. The billing year is correct because we are in 2023. The payment amount is correct. It's $225 because our dues has increased for 2023. And also the dues paid date, it reflects 2023, but it could also show 2022 because there are some members that paid their 2023 dues in 2022. So just looking at this screen, that means this record was uploaded to the M1 system correctly, which also means we should receive it and process it successfully on our end. And you should also see the record reflect paid on the BCT. All right, so again, I went over this earlier, but I'm going to go over it again. So these are the payment type codes that our system will accept for 2023. Again, the payment type code can be STAT, STATE, CDU, C.A.R. dues, C.A.R., 23 CDU, and 23 C.A.R. This is important because if you upload anything outside of these payment type codes, our system will reject it, and your members will still show unpaid on the BCT until we're able to resolve this issue. Also, non-member payment type codes that we will accept is NON, STAT, 23 NON, and also STATN. For NAR, their payment type code is NAR NATL. The good news is if you get NAR's payment type code incorrect, it doesn't matter because they're not actually looking at whether or not the association is uploading a payment type to their system. NAR is actually looking at, when they build the associations, they're actually looking at the count of active members in M1. And so that's how NAR will build the local associations. C.A.R. requires the associations to actually upload a financial record to M1 where NAR does not. All right, so I'm not going to go over each payment for each month. As you know, C.A.R. dues is prorated monthly. I believe I have a section that I might be able to get to that covers the prorated dues amount and who gets the benefit of using the prorated dues amount. Again, the prorated dues amount was set up to benefit brand new members. Renewing members do not get the benefit of having their dues prorated. So that's just something that's important to remember. All right, so let's talk about the non-member fee. I pretty much just covered it, but the non-member fee for C.A.R. is $225, and the non-member fee for NAR is $150. The non-member fees are not prorated. Local associations are not required to collect a $100 new member fee or oops, that's incorrect, or it says $30 late fee, but that should say $50 late fee with the non-member assessment. So this is important to remember when you're billing the broker for non-member fees. You just want to make sure you're billing the broker for C.A.R, N.A.R, and the local association has the option to include a non-member fee as well. One of the things that's important to remember is if you're going to include a local non-member fee, you just want to make sure that the non-member fee does not exceed what your current local dues are. So that's important to remember. All right. So as you know, we're already deep into the membership dues cycle, and so you're already aware that C.A.R increased their dues. Our dues this year is $225, and the N.A.R dues is $195. The dues proration for N.A.R applies to the $150 of their dues and not their $45 assessment. C.A.R dues we prorate on the $225. All right, so let's talk about how payment records must appear in M1. So when you're uploading your financial records to M1, there is a way that they should be uploaded in the system. So there is a payment type code for each payment record in the system. And so therefore the payment should not be combined into one payment. So the correct way would be if you're uploading dues and the late fee to C.A.R, you just want to make sure that you have a payment type code for the 225, which is STAT. And you also want to make sure you have a payment type code for the late fee of $50, which is LATE. The incorrect way to do it would be to combine both and upload the payment of $275 under STAT, meaning you're combining the late fee and C.A.R dues payment. So in this case, our system would reject it because we're looking for a specific payment amount for each month for your members. Also, just real quick, looking at this next section, if you have a new member, you just want to make sure that you set up the payment type code for your new member fees. And so the new member fee for C.A.R is $100. You just want to make sure that you never combine the $100 with the dues payment, making it $325. Again, our system will reject it because we're looking for the payment amount of $225 and not $325. All right, Peggy, I'm just going to pause right here because I'm really just using my PowerPoint from our last business meetings, and so I can actually go on forever. And so to me, it sounds boring to me, and I don't want to bore everybody because I know how this all goes. So I just want to just kind of pause right here and see if there's any questions or if you want me to keep going.
How about we open it up for questions, but I'm going to really caution everybody, please don't ask questions about some kind of a one-off in your association. I would encourage you to contact Keismond after this meeting and in person, like, oh, I have this one person who whatever, because if we keep that up, we'll be here all day. So does anyone have any more generic questions for Keismond? It doesn't look like it. So do y'all want him to keep? Oh, wait. Oh, I see somebody. Mackenzie.
Hi there. I do have a question. It's a bit related to the new member process and when a new member would go on the BCT list.
Yep.
So if I, receive an application and I process it through my system, how long should I wait until that member makes their new member payment, essentially before I deactivate that membership?
So if you are setting up a new member, they should actually be paying their dues on the spot.
Okay.
Yep, the new member should be paying immediately. The only time members get the benefit of waiting, which also depends on the association, is a renewing member. Because going into a new year, if a member paid 2022 dues and we're going into 2023, that member is considered a renewing member. And so it's up to the association to decide when they want their members to pay their dues and when the deadline is where they're going to inactivate those members for unpaid members. Brand new members, they're coming in, they're filling out the realtor application. They should be making a payment at that point.
Okay.
Once you receive that payment, and to be honest with you, you can actually upload the financial record before C.A.R. receives the payment. So if you have the payment in hand and you're just making a deposit, it doesn't mean that you're sending the dues money to C.A.R. immediately. You can, but you just want to make sure that you're sending it within 15 days after you received it. But you can actually make sure that you can upload that member's information into the M1 system so that the member can get access to their benefits as quickly as possible.
Got it. Thank you, Keismond.
Yeah, so before anyone jumps off, I do want to make sure that you give me a chance just to go over this one part about LFRO requirements. All right, so one of the things that I just want to mention, which I think is really important is, as you know, excuse me, C.A.R. requires LFROs to be in a separate entity, which means the broker needs to, to have a separate entity for his LFRO agents. One of the things that you want to keep in mind is if the broker is already tied to a separate office, and let's just say the broker says, I really don't want to set up a corporation because, it's too expensive. Maybe they don't want to set up a DBA because, they can't set up a DBA because it's, it's a lot less, it doesn't cost as much as maintaining, a corporation. One of the things you want to keep in mind is if the broker does not have a separate entity set up for the LFRO agents, the broker can use his or her name as the separate entity. So for example, if the broker's name is John Wayne, you can actually set up an office in your system as John Wayne Referral or John Wayne LFRO in your system, because the broker is actually, his name is actually an entity. He can actually do business under, his name. And so you just want to make sure that you are aware of that option.
Well, it's been a lot of information, and this one is, this one's a lot.
Yeah. Before you end, Peggy, I just want to remind everybody that I know I didn't go into a lot of details on how to add a member to M1, but those training videos, I'm telling you, it gives you the step-by-step instructions on how to manually add a record to M1, as well as when it comes to transferring members, because I know we go through those steps, that process a lot. A lot of members are transferring from one association to another. And so again, there is a video that will walk you through the step-by-step instructions on how to transfer a member. And transferring a member is just a few steps. It's not a lot of steps, it's just a few steps. But that video will give you everything you need to know about how to do it. Thanks, Peggy.
No problem. And we will include those links in the follow-up email, everybody, so that you'll have them handy, as well as the presentation and the letters for brokers for the BCT, and all of that will be in the follow-up.